this is gonna have to do. Hi everyone, my name's Riley. This year I'll be a senior at the University of Florida, which is absolutely crazy, but I wanted to film this video for those of you looking at dorms versus apartments. I personally have lived in an apartment for 3 years now. I just wanted to add a little disclaimer here. Since I've lived in an apartment for 3 years, I'm definitely going to favor living in an apartment versus a dorm, but I have stayed in a dorm before and I have done research, so the information that I'm going to be sharing with you is based on all of that. So here's everything that I've accumulated based on my experience. Take a seat, grab some popcorn, get a little bev, and let's get started. I'll be taking you through the pros and cons of living in a dorm versus living in an apartment. We're going to talk about the good things and the bad things and everything in between. So to begin, let's start with dorms. The pros of dorms. The first pro that I have about living in a dorm is that you have everything that you need. This means you have the necessities. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have everything that you want to have. So you'll have a bed, a desk, 1 or 2 outlets, a small closet. Some dorms have a bathroom and a sink in there, but if it's not in your actual dorm, you have the communal stalls. Ooh. The next pro that I have about living in a dorm is you get to stay on campus. This is obviously a big one if you don't have a method of transportation. It is, I will say, very convenient to live on campus in the dorms because you're in close proximity to everything. The dining halls, your classes, campus, the activities going on around campus, so you have easy access to all of that. The next pro that I have about living in dorms is the payment. So this, I guess, depends on your college and what dorm you choose to stay in. Specifically for UF, I know that some dorms are cheaper than others, so it really just depends on where you're looking, but that could be cheaper than an apartment. I think with dorms you pay semesterly and then an apartment you pay monthly. I believe some colleges and some dorms allow you to do like a student loan, where if you can't necessarily afford living in a dorm, you can get a loan and then obviously pay that off. I'm not sure that apartments let you do that, so that is a pro that you can do with dorms. The next dorm pro that I have is getting the full college experience. I will say, I have missed out on the dorm experience because I was originally accepted to UF through the PACE program, and you can't stay on campus in the dorms. That's like the only difference between PACE and a traditional student, plus everything's online. But at that time, I had already signed my lease for an apartment, so I couldn't live in a dorm even if I wanted to, which I'm actually very thankful happened that way. But part of the whole college experience is living in a dorm. You might hate it, but hey, this is college. Welcome to the college student life. The last dorm pro that I have written down is you have a small tidy space. You don't have to necessarily keep up with cleaning an apartment in like a larger space. Dorms for the most part are pretty small, so you really don't have to do much cleaning. Now let's talk about the cons. Similar to the small tidy space, a con with the dorm is have a very limited amount of space. I personally feel like I'm locked in a prison when I stay in dorms because of the concrete walls, the uncomfortable bed, and the one small window that's the size of my car window. For me, I need to be able to like see the outside. I need to see what's going on, and the small windows just don't do it for me. Another con of living in dorms is you usually will have a roommate. Usually there's 2 twin-size beds on either side of the room. You also get a desk and a closet. That's pretty much all you got. If you are someone who doesn't like people and you're stuck with a roommate that you hate, your life is going to be miserable. Your dorm experience, if you are living with a roommate, really just depends on your roommate. So if you can, room with somebody that you know. But also I've heard great stories about how people didn't know each other, roomed with one another in a dorm, and became best friends. So you really never know. My advice with that is just have good roommate etiquette. There are lots of videos out there on roommate etiquette. Be a nice person and keep an open mind. You never know what's going to happen in college. Another dorm con that I have is sometimes the dorms are really dirty and run down, old. You get the point? You gotta start from the bottom and work your way up. One of the biggest cons for me about living in dorms is you can't cook anything. You can't cook your own meals. I've seen people figure out ways to cook, but my point is you can't have like a full stocked fridge, you can't have a full stocked pantry, you can't make like a full course yummy delicious meal in a college dorm. But on the pro side of that, you can do meal plans. Since you're in close proximity to the dining halls, you can do meal plans. I know a lot of people that do that. Another dorm con is you can't light candles. I heard about this one and I was like, I gotta have my candles. Or like the little plug-ins that make the room smell really good, you can't use those because I think it's a fire hazard, which totally makes sense. But for me, like when I study, I love to light a little candle, and that would just break my heart. Another con is laundry is difficult. Some dorms provide you with laundry facilities, but I will say I'm so thankful to have an in unit washer and dryer. I don't have to leave my apartment to do laundry. Another con for the dorms, which is big for me because I cheer at UF, is you can't live there during the holidays or during the summer. I think you have to be out of the dorms by a certain date, and you're basically on your own to find somewhere to live. For us, with cheer, we have to come back for appearances over the summer or when we come back for training camp. I know a lot of people that live in dorms that have to find a hotel or stay with one of their teammates to be able to stay there for summer practices. Sometimes they are accommodating for athletes, but for the most part, you're stuck. Another con about living in dorms, I'm sorry, there's a lot of these, is if you're a party person, you're gonna hate it. You have these people called resident assistants, I think, that kind of monitor the dorm halls. They're basically in charge of you. Some dorms, some schools make you have a curfew. You gotta be home by a certain time. You can't have a lot of people in your dorm at one time. I think there's like a limited amount of guests that you can have over at one time. If you stay in an all-female dorm, you won't be able to have your little boyfriend sleep over. So keep that in mind when you're deciding between a dorm and an apartment to live in. Now that we're done with the dorm cons, let's go into the apartment pros. The best thing that I love about being in an apartment is being able to cook my own meals. Yes, you can get a meal plan and have all your meals cooked for free. Just go pick it up whenever you want. But for me, I would rather know like exactly where my meal is coming from. I love grocery shopping. Like that is one of my favorite things to do. Every Sunday when I'm in Gainesville, I go grocery shopping to my little Trader Joe's, which is right around the corner from me. Oh, it's just the best. Can't wait to go back. Anyway, cooking my own meals. I love planning them out, so that was a big thing with me. The next pro about apartments is they have so many different amenities. Depending on the apartment you live in, mine, for example, has a gym, a study room, a clubhouse, and a pool. So this is literally luxury. I also go to school in Florida, so it gets pretty hot. Pool days are a big thing at UF, so living in an apartment is so nice because I'm able to have my friends come over and we can have a pool day. Another pro about living in an apartment is maintenance fixes everything. I'm not sure how this works for a dorm if something breaks. If my outlet stops working or my light bulb needs to be replaced, I can just put in a maintenance request and they're there within the day to fix it. It's the best thing ever. Like I was mentioning earlier, how a dorm you can't stay in there during the summer or the holidays. An apartment is the opposite. So a pro about the apartments are as long as your lease is signed, you're welcome to go at any time. The last apartment pro is if you love to host, if you love to have your friends over, an apartment is so much easier to do that because you don't have to worry about your RA coming and knocking on your door and telling all your friends to get out, you know? Now that all the lovely things about apartments are out of the way, let's talk about the ugly things. You may have to furnish them yourself. Not all apartments come fully furnished. Luckily mine did, and I'm so thankful that I didn't have to pay for a bunch of furniture. Furniture can be expensive, and not everyone has the means to afford all of that. Speaking of expensive, apartments can be expensive. I know in Gainesville specifically, prices are going up. Another con about an apartment that you may not like is you're gonna have to clean. Like, I suggest taking one day out of your week to just clean the whole apartment. That's like wiping everything down, vacuuming, mopping, and dusting every other week. An apartment comes with more responsibilities, so if you're not a very responsible person, this is definitely gonna be a con for you. Another con about an apartment is you're kind of forced to grow up, especially as a freshman. If you move into an apartment, you are taking on some more responsibilities that you might not have had at home. So it's kind of a wake-up call. Another con about living in an apartment is you probably will have to cook your own meals. If you're not someone who enjoys cooking or likes planning out meals, going grocery shopping, all of that, that's going to be a con for you. You could do a meal plan on campus, but you would have to commute to campus since most apartments are off campus, if that makes sense. Going along with that, the last con about living in an apartment is it's a little bit farther from campus than everything else. For me, my apartment is about a 10-minute drive to campus, but we have a bus stop right outside of our apartment, and the bus is free for all UF students as long as you have your Gator 1 card. That's also something to consider when you're looking at dorm versus an apartment. Now, to sum everything up, for dorms, you have less privacy, less freedom, but you're close to everything on campus, and a meal plan could be nice. Now, for apartments, you're gonna have to be a more responsible person, but you get more freedom, more privacy, and more amenities. So do with that information what you will. I hope that helped. Please let me know if you have any questions. My DMs are always open, the comments are always open. Comment any video ideas that you want to see from me, whether that's college, cheer, Q&A, advice, let me know. Good luck this year, and I will see you in my next video.